Welcome once again. My name is Mr. Alex, and uh, today we are proceeding to look at uh, guided succession as in the continuation of the earlier video I shared here. So, as I promised, today we are beginning with what are the duties of the executor or executrix of a will. What are the duties of the executor or executrix of a will? As you well know that the executor is a mere individual appointed to manage the estate of the deceased, and the executrix is the female individual appointed to manage the estate of the deceased under a will. Now, let's look at the duties of the two. Of course, they serve the same duties, obeying of different status. So, the duty of the executor is to apply to court for grant of probate. I told you that letters of probate or grant of probate these are letters that allow an individual to actually take on the distribution of the property of the deceased person. They are granted by court of competent jurisdiction. Court of competent jurisdiction, upon application, gives letters of probate to an individual to start disputing the property of the deceased upon that person's death. Another role is to find out and receive the estate of the deceased person. This is another duty of the executor or executrix, is to find out, of course, upon the receiving letters of probate, is to find out and receive the estate of the deceased person. Another role is to manage and distribute the estate of the deceased person according to the will of the deceased. Is to distribute the property of the deceased according to the will, what the will provides. That is another role of the executor or executrix. For example, here it includes payment of debts, maintenance of the beneficiaries. That is what we mean by distributing and managing the property of the deceased. Of course, we need to also appreciate that where applicable, the executor must represent or file the deceased person's civil cases in courts of law. Must represent or file cases of the deceased person in the civil courts of law. And finally, another role is to make a final account or report on the management of the estate of the deceased person to court. Of course, after disputing the property, then you must uh, have a report, file a report showing how the property was distributed, and does it give a final effect of what was actually expected in a will. And then now allow me proceed to what happens when a will does not provide for an executor or executrix. What happens when a will does not provide for an executor or executrix? So of course, where the will does not provide for an executor or executrix, then the surviving spouse and the beneficiary should apply for letters of administration with the will attached. So that is what happens when the will does not provide for the executor or executrix. The beneficiaries and the surviving spouses have to apply to court for letters of administration, and upon the application, you must attach the the copy of a will. It is very, very important. Of course, the process goes as follows. One, you the applicants, must obtain a letter of introduction from the chairperson. You need letter of introduction from the chairperson. Of course, obtain the passport size photographs, and national identity cards of the beneficiaries. and the applicants. That is very important. You have to open a file at the office of the Administrator General, and then the office of the Administrator General will guide the family on appointing the administrators of the estate. Number E, of course, the Administrator General will issue a certificate of no objection. The Administrator General will issue the certificate of no objection and certified copies or certified minutes of the family meeting, the persons appointed by the family. Of course, the Administrator General will have a simple meeting of the people appointed by the family to interact with the Administrator General to be guided and to receive the certificate of no objection. Of course, the persons who are issued with the certificate of no objection must apply to court for letters of administration with a will attached, as I earlier mentioned. You cannot just send letters of application without, uh, you don't just send letters of application for letters of administration without attaching a will. That is very, very important. Of course, the court may allow the persons who are issued with a certificate of no objection to put a notice in the newspapers or advertise to that actually informing the public that they intend to apply for letters of administration. That is very, very important. Of course, upon obtaining the letters of administration, the administrators have to distribute. The administrators have to distribute the property in accordance with a will within the period of 2 years from the date of obtaining the letters of administration. Of course, if the administrators are unable to distribute the property within the specified period, then they can apply at court to have this period extended. And that is very, very important. Now, allow me proceed and take you through what happens when the executor or executrix refuses to accept the appointment. That is another thing that is challenging out there in the communities. What happens when the executor or executrix refuses to accept the appointment? Of course, where an individual or individuals refuse to accept the role of executors or executrix, and then the deceased person's estate. Uh, of course, if they refuse to be the administrators of the property, but then the beneficiaries have to apply for letters of administration with the will attached. If then that means you apply now for letters of administration. It becomes the same as if the administrators had not been appointed. When he or she refuses, it becomes the same as if they had not been appointed. The process becomes the same. Now you apply for letters of administration, having letters of the letter from LC1 of introduction, opening a case, interacting with the administrator general, receiving letter of certificate of no objection, then getting letters of administration. Now, you need to appreciate that the surviving spouse has the priority to apply for certificate of no objection from the office of the administrator general. Please note that the surviving spouse has the priority to apply for certificate of no objection from office of the administrator general. The administrator general may issue a certificate of no objection to the surviving spouse alone or joining him with other persons appointed by the family. Of course, if the entire family is not worth more than 50 million, an executor or executrix shall obtain letters of probate from the magistrate's court. That is very important. That when the property is not worth 50 million, then the executor or executrix does not go to high court to obtain letters of probate But here now, he or she goes and gets the letters of probate from the magistrate. Of course, the High Court has jurisdiction to grant letters of probate and execute or executives if the property, the value of the property is worth above 50 million shillings. Of course, that is very important that you need to appreciate. Of course, as we drive to conclusion, you need to know that court may grant extension of letters of probate if it is the best interest of the beneficiaries of the estate or with the consent of the beneficiaries of the estate. Otherwise, you will allow me stop here. Uh, we shall have more tutorials on the guide to succession in Uganda, on basically how to obtain letters of administration, what happens after getting letters of administration, the essence of having letters of administration, what amounts to letters of probate. We shall have uh, more tutorials or guiding on how to deal with such. Otherwise, thank you so much. Once again, of course, my name is Msiment Alex. I request that, I pray that please you subscribe, share with colleagues, and please leave a comment. We need to always know your comments. We need to always improve upon having receiving your comments. Thank you so much.